I have heard complaints about the Final Fantasy X-2 perfect ending. People have said that Final Fantasy X-2 cheapens Final Fantasy X by bringing Tidus back, that he never should have returned. However, there is enough evidence to show that Final Fantasy X always intended for Tidus to come back. And while you can say that that after credit scene is ambiguous, there is still enough evidence to show that yes, Tidus returned in Final Fantasy X. The only job that Final Fantasy X-2 did was expand on that. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 pieces of evidence that are in Final Fantasy X, and you will definitely want to listen to it because I think it's kind of mind-blowing. Piece of evidence number 1. This is about the promotional artwork that was in Final Fantasy X. In this CGI artwork, you can see that Tidus is in Besaid, in the shallow sea, holding the Brotherhood sword. In the background, you can see the faded Xanarkand, which is very cool. It is in this promotional shot that the Final Fantasy X Ultimania reveals that they intended for this to be taking place at the end in the after credits of Final Fantasy X. Here is the caption of this artwork that is in the Ultimania book. Tidus stands in the shallows of Besaid Island, holding the Brotherhood blade he received from Waka. This scene connects to the secret ending of the sequel, Final Fantasy X-2. There is more in this where we can infer that this is indeed about the after credits scene. The obvious part is that he has the Brotherhood sword, and he does not get the Brotherhood sword at the time he arrives in Besaid. Another part is that he looks confident and defiant. This is not the state that he was in when we originally see Tidus. This is the evolved version of him. You can see it in his expression. He is not the childlike, thrown around version of himself when he arrives on Besaid. The third piece is the Pyreflies. You can see Pyreflies in this artwork, and Pyreflies are also in that final cutscene. But okay. Just because it says in the book that this is what was intended with the artwork doesn't mean that's necessarily true. I believe that the evidence has to be in the game itself. So let's talk about the game, which leads me to my piece of evidence number 2. There is a scene in which the Faith of Bahamut says you are more than just a dream now. The Faith of Bahamut is hinting towards something, that you can become a real boy. And in Final Fantasy X-2, the Faith of Bahamut is ultimately who decides to bring Tidus back. So I think that that was intentional. But there is a lot more thematically to this. Final Fantasy X has some connections to Pinocchio and to certain story tropes such as the belly of the beast trope. First, let's talk about Pinocchio. Pinocchio earns the right of becoming a real flesh person, and Pinocchio only does this by traveling into the belly of a whale, the belly of a beast, and saving his father. It is not a coincidence that sin, among other things, embodies a whale. We have also seen this trope in other video games. For example, in Ocarina of Time, you go into the belly of Jabu Jabu. The belly of the beast originally traces back to the Old Testament in the Bible, where Jonah is inside the belly of the beast of a giant fish, or sometimes translated as a whale, for 3 days and 3 nights. The belly of the whale is also in one of the structures of the hero's journey. It is known as Stage 5 of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. In this article from shortform.com, we can learn more about this belly of the whale trope. Next comes one of the most potent symbols of the hero's death and rebirth, the common motif of the hero being inside the belly of a whale. This belly symbolizes the womb, also a temple. The darkness within represents death, and the hero's emergence parallels the act of birth or rebirth. As we mentioned above, the hero story is always one of self-annihilation, this obliteration of the hero's old form and the transformation into something new. It is akin to the act of a worshiper entering a temple. When we enter a sacred space, whether church, mosque, Shinto shrine, or pagan grove, we are leaving the confines of the familiar world and undergoing our own metamorphosis. It is very interesting that the belly of the whale represents also a temple. Final Fantasy X also strongly links the idea of temples with sports. Blitzball stadiums are also temples. It is also a place where people worship star players, much like they worship the high summoners in the temples. Blitzball stars also go on pilgrimages. They play with one team after another, collecting trophies, like Yuna collects Aeons. Tidus makes this connection very clear when he says that the Blitzball salute is now the Yevon prayer. So when the world inside Sin is of a Blitzball stadium, that is also a temple. When Tidus faces off against Jet, he is facing his very origin. This is why Tidus must have a complete spiritual transformation at the end of this. But important to this hero's journey is one of rebirth. After entering the womb and facing his own father, Tidus reemerges from this. And in this reemergence, there must be a rebirth in order to complete the cycle of the hero's journey. This is what leads me to the third piece of evidence, which is that final cutscene. There are a couple of things that are noteworthy in this. One is that Tidus is curled up in the fetal position, like a newborn baby. This signifies that he is being reborn. We expect this rebirth to occur because that is the final stage of the hero's journey. We also see the Pyreflies surrounding Tidus, and the Pyreflies are also present in the promotional artwork. This is why, without a doubt, the creators of Final Fantasy X intended for Tidus to come back in the end. It happens right there in Final Fantasy X without the presence of a Final Fantasy X-2 sequel, even though in the moment they did not intend to make a sequel. I think the ending of Final Fantasy X is perfect, and the fact that they made it mysterious and ambiguous, but also giving that hope, is what made Final Fantasy X so bittersweet and so addicting to think about afterward. What do you think about the ending of Final Fantasy X? Let me know in the comments. And also let me know what other deep dives you may want me to do on Final Fantasy X. There will definitely be more to come. And if you like this video, then you may like another video I made where I explain how Tidus is able to return and how that works in the world of Final Fantasy X too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye!